Hi everyone, it's Tom Richardson here, author of the Darkest Hand trilogy, which is available in English, The Damned, the opening book of the trilogy, and Les Maudits in French, courtesy of Sonatine Editions. Book 2 is coming out in France next couple of months. I just thought I'd make a quick video about novels which have inspired me, or at least shaped me as a writer. A lot of writers, I kind of suffer a little bit from imposter syndrome, because you kind of think, well, I'm not quite sure how I got to be where I am, and I certainly don't feel a writer who's part of the horror community, even though I'm kind of labelled as a horror writer. My books actually touch many genres, and when people say, well, what's your trilogy about, I kind of say, well, it's kind of a love story. If anything, there's lots of genres in it, but primarily it is a love story. So I thought I'd look over some books which, like I said, have inspired me, and I've grabbed 10 of them which have had an impact on me and my writing, and just thought I'd share them, just to kind of give you an idea of the breadth of the sorts of books that I've read and I've really been moved by. So the first one is Moby Dick, and I read this when they came out as Penguin Popular Classics of early 1990s, I think it was. You could get these for £1, which was just absolutely astonishing. And I remember reading this and just being completely transported away. The first 50 pages of Moby Dick are the favourite 50 pages of any book I've ever read. They are just absolutely astonishing, that kind of authenticity and the realness. And when I was reading this, I was just thinking what it must have been like when it first came out and you read this. You were transported away to these worlds where people would never go. Now we can, of course, go there, but you know, even today, just reading it, it's just utterly mind-blowing. The language and just the feel of the writing, it just absolutely gets me every time. The second book is also from the same series, and that is the Penguin's Popular Classics, and it's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I remember reading this and just being absolutely, there's the back cover, just absolutely blown away by the language used within it. It just really chimed with me, that whole kind of gothic text. I loved how it just felt so dramatic. It was so kind of abrupt. She didn't overdo the language. It was very precise and to the point, and incredibly dark at points, but there was a lot of light within it, and that's something which I kind of feel has I've tried to recreate within my own writing, that light and shade. It can't all be dark. There needs to be light there as well. And then that leads on to The Alienist by Caleb Carr, which is a modern day historical fiction novel, kind of in the vein of Jack the Ripper Killer, but in New York, and again very gothic, very Victorian, based in New York in 1896, killer of young children, and Dr. Laszlo Kreisler goes after the killer. Again, just phenomenal storytelling, but the language used within it, and just that rawness, and that it's almost kind of tangible, the text that's used. You can smell it, you can feel it. You know, the snow is coming down and you can feel it landing on you. It's just absolutely astonishing book. And you know, these are all books which I read, and I just think I just would love to try and one day get somewhere close to them. Then you know, we move into a slightly different area, and that's with Luke Reinhardt's The Dice Man. I love books which rewrite the rules, what's expected of the writer, what's expected of the reader, and completely changing your perceptions of what literature should be. And this is absolutely it. I love the fact that there's one chapter in here which I think is a line long, which is something along the lines of, "This is going to hurt, it does." I think it just stops you in your tracks and think, you know, this is unlike anything else I've read. Really quirky, really dangerous book. I absolutely loved it. And then following on from that whole kind of thing that kind of slightly messes with your mind is Ian Banks' Complicity. You know, both the cover, which is really stark and really eye-catching, and you know, it's confrontational, the cover, and certainly the story and the writing is as well. It's got drugs in it, it's got sex in it, it's got murder in it, it's got torture in it, but it's all kind of pulled together with such a quality of writing that it never slips over into the obscene. It's kind of kept in track. And I remember reading this and feeling really uneasy and like I shouldn't be reading it, but I couldn't stop reading it. So absolutely incredible. All his books are incredible, but I loved Complicity very much. And then moving into something again completely different, and that is James Crumley's The Last Good Kiss. This book made me weep, and it made me weep not because it's a sad story, but I read it and I thought, I will never ever be able to write a book anywhere as good as this. It's just astonishing, the construction of the story, the construction of the paragraphs, the use of the language, the visuals, how he sets out his scene, his characters, an alcoholic dog with an alcoholic owner on the road trying to solve mysteries, the vastness of America and the sleaziness of the bars they visit and the horrible things that they uncover and have to do. I just read this and I've just read it with my jaw open. Absolutely astonishing, absolutely astonishing. And American literature, does chime with. I love the Gothic Englishness, the stuff that, for example, Shelley did. But I also love the kind of the stark Americanism, American sort of feel, Americanisms within language, I suppose. And this is why I absolutely love Cormac McCarthy. I love everything he writes. Actually, my favourite, I haven't got the book, I've lent it to someone and I've not got it back, is The Road. The Road is the one book that I got to the end of and I was in pieces. But this again, it's just the way in which he uses words or doesn't use words. He doesn't feel the need to over elaborate and be overly descriptive. It's very stark, it's very minimalist, and then he'll put something in there which is just a little bit more flesh on the bones, and it just roars through. And this and The Road, and I've just finished the Cowboy trilogy, and that again, nothing happens for 700 pages, and yet so much does happen. It's an astonishing skill. Then something completely different is Watchmen, and I remember reading this and just being absolutely knocked on my backside reading this book. It just absolutely blew my mind, and it also gave me so much joy because finally there was a comic book that could stand alongside all the classics of literature. It is astonishingly well written. With just incredibly intelligent, thought-provoking elements within it, incredible characters, and with a final which I still shiver when I think of that finale and at the end of this. It just absolutely blew my mind. Talking about being blown away by a book and the language, Wolf Hall, Hilary Mantel. This book sat on my desk the whole of writing the trilogy. Simply because it was the touchstone to wanting to write the best English possible, and I think this has probably got the best English that's ever been written. Every time I pick this up and turn to any one particular page, it just inspired me. Every single line, every single paragraph, every single word used within it is just absolutely phenomenal, and I just don't think it's ever been matched by anything that's come after it. It is just amazing. And talking about amazing, save the best till last, and that is The Lord of the Rings, which was the first book I really properly. This is my original copy from 1979, and I've had it ever since, and I take it everywhere with me, as you can see by the sorry state of it, but I wouldn't really have it anywhere, and I'm sure Tolkien would approve if he saw this. It's extremely well loved and extremely well read. I must have read this 30 or 40 times probably. It's where it all started for me with writing. well, that's not true. The Hobbit was where it started for me, but this felt like grown-up literature. I remember Tolkien said of Lord of the Rings, I don't think it's a very good sequel because N is not child's play. N being the necromancer. It's not for kids. There's some very, very dark stuff in this, and there's also some incredibly thoughtful, inspiring stuff within it. Every time I pick this up, like Wolf Hall, I can read passages within it, and it just inspires me, and it pushes me to try and write better. It just this is the touchstone to everything that I write, and if I can ever get anywhere close to the whole kind of world building and the whole sort of story ideas and the cast of characters that Tolkien came up with, I would be a very, very happy man. So that gives you an idea of the sorts of things that have inspired me as a writer. Not a huge amount of horror, which is why I kind of get uneasy with the kind of horror tag. There's gothic in here. Yes, there is Mary Shelley with some horror elements within that, but a lot of fantasy, bit of pulp fiction, sort of some uneasy reads, books which have kind of got a little bit of edge about them. And I kind of think all that has kind of gone into the melting pot of me and my writing mind and made me the writer who I am today. I hope you found those books inspiring. Certainly if you've not read any of them, please do. And if you've got any particular favourites, do let me know. I would love to know them.